Alcohol markers are bold, vibrant, and smooth, but they can also be tricky. They dry fast. They can streak. They can bleed through paper. And if you wait too long, blending becomes a lot harder. But once you understand how alcohol markers work, they become much easier to control. Welcome back to Studio CC. In this episode of Art Media Basics, we're exploring alcohol markers. We'll talk about what alcohol markers are, how they're different from water-based markers, the main marker nibs, helpful tools, paper choices, and beginner techniques like swatching, layering, blending, gradients, and texture. Then I'll use those techniques in a finished dragon fruit drawing. So let's start with what alcohol markers actually are. Alcohol markers are markers that use alcohol-based ink. Because alcohol evaporates quickly, these markers usually dry fast, create vivid colors, and work well for layering and blending. That's one of the biggest differences between alcohol-based markers and water-based markers. Water-based markers use water as the main carrier, so they can behave more like watercolor when used with the right paper and a brush. They can be great for soft effects, lettering, and journaling, but they can also damage thinner paper if you layer too much. Alcohol markers usually feel smoother and more permanent. They dry quickly, which helps with layering, but it also means that you often need to blend while the ink is still wet. If the ink dries before you blend, you may get a harder edge or visible streaks. So alcohol markers reward planning, quick decision making, and the right paper. One more thing to note is lightfastness. Lightfastness means how well a color resists fading when exposed to light. Alcohol markers are usually dye-based instead of pigment-based, which means that their color will fade over time. They're considered a transient art medium, so they're not ideal for artwork that will hang in direct sunlight for years. If you make something you love, scan it or photograph it and keep the original away from strong sunlight. And make sure your customers understand this too. I tested out 3 different types of alcohol markers currently in my collection to see which perform best under direct sunlight. I swatched a paper, cut it in half, taped one half up in a window, and put the other half in a dark drawer. After only 1 week in the sunlight, the colors have already started to fade. Purple and blue are the most noticeable, but I was amazed to discover that the most expensive brand, Prismacolor, faded the fastest. In fact, the least expensive brand, CaliArt, performed the best. I'm going to keep running the experiment for a few months and we'll make a video about it at the end. There are tons of brands that sell alcohol markers on the market today. The cheapest brands offer very large sets of markers for low prices and are a great place to start if you're interested in trying the medium. The downside to these markers is that the ink dries up and the nibs wear down quickly. Artist and professional grade lines of markers typically have more ink and better quality nibs that last a long time. Sometimes they offer ink refills and nib replacement kits. I'm going to do a segment in a future video on how to refill ink and change a nib. I've acquired multiple brands over the years, but my current favorite is the Ohuhu Honolulu series. They're not the cheapest or the most expensive, and I like how vibrant the colors are and how well they blend. In this video, I'll be using that set to demonstrate these techniques. No matter which brand of alcohol marker you purchase, you'll extend their life if you store them properly. Always store markers horizontally so the ink flows equally to both ends, and be sure to keep them at room temperature away from direct sunlight. Alcohol markers come with different nibs, and each nib creates a different kind of mark. There are actually about a dozen different styles of nibs, but I'm going to demonstrate the 3 most common types you'll find in stores or online. A rounded nib, or a bullet nib, is firm and controlled. It works well for small detailed areas, simple outlines, writing, and textural marks like stippling and hatching. It is beginner friendly, but it's not usually the best option for soft blending or expressive strokes. A brush nib is flexible. It's wider at the base and comes to a precise point. You can press slightly for thin lines, press more for thicker strokes, or use the side to fill larger areas. Brush nibs are great for blending, gradients, soft edges, lettering, or organic subjects. A chisel nib has a flat angled shape. You can use the broad side to cover large areas or the edge for thinner marks. It's useful for backgrounds, bold shapes, lettering, and quick coverage. The main idea is that nib shape affects control, coverage, and blending. So as you test your markers, pay attention not just to the color, but also to the kind of marks each tip can make. You don't need a huge supply list to start using alcohol markers, but a few tools can make the process much easier. First, a pencil. Alcohol markers force you to make very intentional marks, so I like to lightly sketch the drawing first. You can use graphite or colored pencil, but be aware that due to alcohol markers' transparency, they may show through in your final drawing. Keep your marks light and use an eraser to pick up any excess graphite so it doesn't smear into the markers. Next, a blotting page. Alcohol markers can bleed through paper. Every marker paper may allow some ink to pass through depending on how much you layer. So always place a scrap sheet, blotting page, or protective surface underneath your work. This protects the table and keeps extra ink from staining the next page in your sketchbook. Next is a colorless blender. The name can be a little misleading because it does not magically blend everything perfectly. A colorless blender is basically an alcohol solution without pigment. It can help push color, soften edges, lighten small areas, create texture, or prepare the paper before adding color. But it's not an eraser. If you use it too much, it can spread the ink or create blooms and hard edges. So treat the colorless blender as a tool for adjusting and moving color, not as a perfect undo button. A white gel pen is useful for final highlights. Once you cover an area with dark color, it can be almost impossible to bring back pure white. A white gel pen can help add sparkle, shiny highlights, or tiny accents at the end. Paper makes a huge difference with alcohol markers. The wrong paper can cause streaking, feathering, bleeding, and frustration. The right paper gives the ink room to move without destroying the surface. Marker paper is usually thinner, very smooth, and designed specifically for markers. It often lets the ink sit and blend on the surface a little differently, which can help create smoother transitions. It may also use less ink than heavier papers. The downside is that marker paper can feel delicate, and depending on the brand, it may still bleed through. So even with marker paper, use a blotting page underneath. Bristol board is thick, smooth, and sturdy. Smooth Bristol can work well for alcohol markers because the surface is strong enough to handle layering, and it does not usually have heavy texture that damages the nib. The colors can look bold and polished. The downside is that Bristol may absorb more ink than marker paper, so you might use up more marker ink while blending or filling in larger areas. Still, for finished artwork, Bristol board can be a very nice surface. The best paper depends on what you want. If you want a smooth practice surface, marker paper is great. If you want something sturdier for a finished drawing, Bristol board or a marker-friendly mixed media paper can be a better choice. The most important thing is to test your markers on the surface before starting a finished piece. The first technique is not really a drawing technique, but it is one of the most important habits: swatching. The color on the marker cap is not always exactly what the color looks like on paper, and alcohol markers can look different depending on the paper, the number of layers, and whether they're blended with other colors. Some kits even come with a blank swatch card like this Ohuhu set. So before starting a drawing, I recommend creating a small color chart for the markers you plan to use. It's a great idea to swatch your entire set so that you're not starting from scratch every time. Next, let's look at quick versus slow strokes. Alcohol marker ink flows continuously while the nib is touching the paper, so the speed of your stroke matters. A quick stroke usually puts down less ink. It may look lighter, drier, or more textured. A slower stroke gives the ink more time to soak into the paper, so it may look darker, wetter, and more saturated. If you pause too long in one spot, you can create a darker mark or a bloom. If you overlap strokes unevenly, you may get streaks. For smoother coverage, try to move steadily and overlap slightly while the ink is still wet. The goal is not to panic and rush, the goal is to move with intention. Alcohol markers are often used for smooth blending, but they can also create texture. Flicking is similar to feathering, but the motion is quicker and more directional. You press slightly at the beginning of the stroke and lift as you flick away. This creates a tapered mark. Flicking is great for hair, grass, flower petals, fruit texture, and areas where you want movement. Stippling uses small dots or taps. This can be useful for pores, seeds, speckles, rough texture, and tiny surface details. For fruit, stippling can help suggest the speckled skin and tiny marks. Scumbling uses loose, scribbly, overlapping marks. With alcohol markers, scumbling can create organic texture, especially if you don't want an area to look perfectly smooth. It can be useful for rough surfaces, shadows, or natural texture. Hatching uses parallel lines to build value and texture. I start with an orange circle, then use a red-orange marker in the side of its chisel tip to create a series of parallel lines on one side. I go over that with a red marker to create darker lines. This helps create the illusion of form. Layering is one of the most important alcohol marker techniques. There are two basic ways to think about it: wet on dry and wet on wet. Wet on dry means you let one layer dry before adding another layer on top. This can darken the other color, build shadows, or create more defined shapes. Because the first layer is dry, the new layer may create a clear edge. Wet on wet means you add color while the previous layer is still damp. This usually creates softer blends because the inks can move together before drying. Alcohol marker ink dries fast, so if you want a soft blend, you have to have your colors ready before you start. You can create a gradient with just one alcohol marker. Start with one light layer, then add a second layer where you want the color to become darker, then add a third layer in the deepest shadow area. Because alcohol markers are transparent, each layer builds intensity. This is a great way to practice value without worrying about blending multiple colors. The key is to build slowly. It's much easier to make an area darker than it is to make it lighter again. Now let's try a gradient with multiple colors. Usually it helps to work from light to dark. Start with the lightest color, add the middle color next, then add the darker color. While the ink is still wet, go back with the lighter color and gently overlap the transition areas. This helps soften the edges between colors. You can also use small circular motions, flicking strokes, or repeated passes to soften the blend. But be careful not to scrub the paper. If the paper gets too saturated, the ink can spread, bleed, or damage the surface. So work in layers and give the paper a moment if it starts feeling too wet. Now let's put these techniques together in a finished drawing of a dragon fruit. Before I start the drawing, I swatch my colors on the same paper I'll use for the final piece. I also created small practice areas to warm up. Next, I'll start with a light pencil sketch. I'm keeping the lines simple. I want to map out the overall shape of the fruits. I'm not adding every tiny seed in pencil. I'm just planning the structure. I then used a kneaded eraser to pick up excess graphite. I started with the cut center because I felt like it was the most straightforward area. I gently tapped the surface with the brush end of the medium cool gray to create seeds under the surface. Then I went over the entire area with a very light cool gray. I used a Faber-Castell pit pen to create the seeds on the surface. Then I began applying color on the outside peel of the skin. I tend to apply the lightest color first, and then overlap medium and dark hues on top of that. I also incorporate a little light blue to the edge closest to the table because some of the light was reflecting off its surface. I'm only coloring one small section at a time because alcohol markers dry very quickly. I used a white gel pen to apply the highlights on the seeds. Then I turned my attention to the other fruit and worked one scale at a time. For the skin, I applied a combination of hatching, scumbling, and stippling marks. I chose a light cream color as the transition color between green and pink. At this stage, I started to apply shadows using both a light and medium cool gray. Then I used a white gel pen to add more highlights and texture throughout. Once I was satisfied with the fruit, I grabbed my swatch to help select a blue for the background. I used both the brush end for finer detail areas and the chisel tip when I had more room. This piece uses many of the beginner techniques we practiced: swatching, slow strokes, wet on wet blending, wet on dry layering, gradients, hatching, scumbling, and stippling. And for the final step, I applied a combination of light and medium cool gray for the cast shadows. And now, the drawing is finished. So that is a beginner-friendly introduction to alcohol markers. We looked at what alcohol markers are, how they compare to water-based markers, the main nib types, helpful tools, paper choices, and beginner techniques like layering, blending, feathering, scumbling, and stippling. But the big idea is this: alcohol markers work best when you understand how the ink moves. They dry quickly, so planning your colors, testing your paper, and working in layers can make a huge difference. Your challenge this week is to create a small alcohol marker drawing yourself, using at least 3 of the techniques from this video. And let me know in the comments which technique felt the easiest and which one gave you the most trouble. In the next episode of Art Media Basics, we'll be moving on to collage, where we'll explore cutting, arranging, and combining images and materials. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode of Studio CC.